welcome back. This is Bert Dunkerley with Emerging Revolutionary War, and our saga continues because now we're into what happens next. And what happens next is militia converging on Boston, and the story continues with the escalation of this conflict. We're coming to you live from Harvard, campus of Harvard. There's a marker we're going to show you. There's plenty you didn't see. Rob Orison didn't know about this. Trust me, there's plenty that he missed. But Dan is going to take it away and tell you about this important event.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Dan Welch here with Emerging Revolutionary War. As my colleague Bert just in last night to get some rest for the events of April 20th, 1775, and their commemorator. Others of us continued to film last night. The contingent is, I think, still in bed right now, as the rest of us are out here and continuing on the story of America's 250th. But I'm standing at the site of 1875, and an important event is going to set forward a chain of actions that are going to take place in the coming months. And that event is going to take place, as I mentioned, on April 20th, 1775. Now, throughout the fighting on April 19th, just the day prior, a word is going to reach the commander of all the Massachusetts militia, a man by the name of Artemas Ward. Artemas Ward was born in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts in 1727. He'd been born to a family whose father was in many different trades and very, very prominent in Shrewsbury. As a graduate of Harvard, Artemas Ward would be very, very familiar with this area. The word reaches Artemas Ward on via a rider on horseback. Artemas, plagued with gallstones, is a condition that has bothered him most of his life, including during his commandship in the French and Indian War and his tenure as commander of the 3rd Regiment of Massachusetts Militia, which is very, very important. The 3rd Regiment of the Massachusetts Militia was one of the units that resigned in mass in September 1774 as a direct reaction to things that were happening here in Massachusetts and in Boston. And they would march to Shrewsbury upon their resignation in mass and notify their former commander, Artemas Ward, of that resignation. So Ward is very much trusted. He's very well respected by many of those in the Massachusetts militia in high ranks. And as I mentioned, a rider makes his way to Shrewsbury, informs Ward, who is on his couch, in his bed, if you will, on April 19th, of the events that have taken place at Lexington and Concord. Now, in the preceding weeks leading up to this tension boiling over on Lexington Green and in Concord, due to his gallstones, Ward has been sending out orders from Shrewsbury this entire time to commanding officers of the Massachusetts militia. But now, about hearing the bloodshed that has happened in Lexington and Concord along Battle Road, Ward decides it's time to take command in person. And on the 19th, after receiving that news, he prepares to leave. And on the morning of April 20th, he sets off from Shrewsbury, about 40 miles from Harvard's campus, and will arrive here late on the 20th to take command not only of the Massachusetts militia, but take command of the thousands of patriots that are flooding into the area of Boston itself. When he arrives here to the site of Jonathan Hastings' house today, he arrives to the house, he's going to meet with the members of the Public Committee of Safety. And it's during this meeting that they elect him that are continuing to arrive in the area. Particularly the newest arrivals of men from Connecticut of Lexington and Concord are streaming towards this area. Ward's command will continue on for the next several months from this site as he prepares not only the siege of Boston against the British, but the events that will eventually take place at Bunker Hill. Now, Ward's illnesses will eventually catch back up to him, and he will serve in this role as Major General all the way through March of 1777. But ill health and Washington's removal from Boston, heading to New York City, will force him to remain in Massachusetts. But Artemas Ward's story, taking command, organizing all these Patriot forces, erecting the siege line around Boston, and even ordering the prepared defenses being constructed around Bunker Hill, are often forgotten today. Ward himself, after his passing in 1800, will live on in infamy for a little bit of time. However, that infamy will begin to fade away throughout much of the 19th century. But Ward ago today.
There you go.
So, with that, I am Dan Welch. This is Bert Dunkerley with Emerging Revolutionary War. We are so happy that you were able to join us today and over the last several days as we now transition to the events that will take place in June 1775. So we hope you'll continue to join us on our blog, on our Facebook page, and all of our social media channels as we chart the next several months of 250th anniversary events leading up to Bunker Hill. Thanks for joining us.
Let's go wake up Rob Morrison.